What is up, everyone, and welcome into the newest episode of Nuts and Bolts. Can't believe that we're already in week 6, but I can believe that we're about to be 5-1 in week 6.
San Diego Chargers are fortunate to have Lance Allworth.
On blue, ready?
Don Coryell.
Hello, history books.
Touchdown, San Diego! Woo!
Bam! Here we are. Tony Tucker, Mike on the Mike Sports. Biggest Chargers fans and only Chargers fans in the Warzone Sports Network here to preview week 6. We already talked about the Browns. We're not going to talk about that too much. Tony, how are you doing today?
Doing amazingly. I'm getting feedback.
Feedback.
Goodness. Everything must be difficult. Anyway, I'll just talk through it. I'm doing amazingly. 4-1 right now. Don't really think that a lot of people had the Chargers right here unless you were a Chargers fan, unless you watched the team and were following closely and knew the direction that they were headed in, that you thought they could be at this place. Now, I did think that one loss would come against the Chiefs, so I'm almost more excited about the fact that the Chiefs was a victory, right? Like, I'm sitting here heading in with best case scenario, Chargers go into their bye week in first place in the AFC. It's freaking insane.
Not the AFC West. In the entire AFC, where we've sat for the last 2 weeks now and maintained at this point.
Yeah. I want them to treat this like an actual business trip, right? That it's like, hey, we're getting on a plane. We're going to sleep, in a broom closet if we have to. We're going to take care of business, and we're going to go out there, and we are going to dominate the Ravens for 4 quarters, and then we're just going to come back to LA, get some rest, and put in more work. Like, that's what I am hoping to see.
It is, yeah, I'm with you on that. And the reasoning that we are going to dominate any games is because of number 10. And that kid is absolutely unbelievable. And to think that teams like the Miami Dolphins passed on him, what losers. But anyways, I got a clip here. We'll talk about Justin Herbert a little bit before we get into the preview. A clip of Justin Herbert on the Dan Patrick Show and what they were talking about. This interview blew my mind.
What do you do on a day off?
Watch film. The quarterbacks will come in and lift, and then right after that, we'll watch film for a couple of hours.
Yeah, but that's not a day off, though, Justin.
Technically, it kind of is our day off, but you have to use all the time that you can to get advantage and get ahead of the schedule, because we don't have a whole lot of time during the day, and especially during the week. So anytime that we can get, we got to use.
Yeah, but isn't there part of you that goes, I gotta take a break from this?
I think you could look at it that way. I think I love football enough that I don't really ever want to get away from it. And I think when I do have off time, I think that's kind of the tough part is I need something to do. I need to watch football. I need to play football. So it's kind of weird like that.
But play golf, like a day that you just do video games, like you tell coach, hey, I'm going to take a personal day and go play golf or something. Does it work that way?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think maybe if you've got 15, 20 years in the league, but not yet.
Do people recognize you in LA?
I don't really spend too much time outside of the building and my house, and it hasn't really been too much of an issue. I don't think people care too much about it.
Wait, do you have any fun?
Football's fun. Showing up here to the building every day and spending time with my teammates, this is the best.
Mike, 3 things jump out to me. 1, the Chargers are really, really good at football. Because you wouldn't be this excited about football unless you knew how good your team was, right? Number 2, that response is so genuine. I talked about this with a friend of mine yesterday in text messages. Like, it is just so genuine, like where he's like, well, football's fun. You know, like it's so real to him what he's doing there. And then lastly, he is like perfectly in, like, you cut those clips up and Dan Patrick moved a couple times I was watching. Justin Herbert was just locked in the whole time. Like you never saw his version skip. So the same way he does an interview is the same way he dominates on the field. Like he's just locked in right now. You can't even fast forward and find chinks in the armor of Justin Herbert. It's impressive. I love it.
100%, and that's why when all the Raiders fans during Raiders Week were talking about how they're going to exploit weaknesses because Gus Bradley knows them, I asked the question, what weaknesses? What weaknesses does Justin Herbert have right now? I don't think that I have one that's jumping off the paper this season. Last year there was some stuff, and we did a whole film breakdown on it on this network. But all those questions I had and anything that he had in his game that he needed to fix, he went into this offseason and probably spent the entire offseason at the building, as he called it, working on those issues. And to see the talent coming together with the work ethic, that's how special players are made. That's how special careers are started. If he can keep this motivation throughout his entire career, one, he's going to be a very rich man. He just changed his entire family's life. And two, I have complete faith that Justin Herbert is going to be the one to do it for us and take us.
Well, I think Justin Herbert was doing all right before this. Like, I think growing up in Oregon, like I think he probably, I don't know his background. I've never Googled him. I don't Google any players because honestly, I don't really care about their lives outside of football. Although randomly, I did go down a wormhole of watching videos and stumbled upon Jalen Guyton's mom on Instagram, who is obviously a huge Chargers fan, loves her son, and I am now going to say not mean things about Jalen Guyton because his mom is such a sweet woman. I tend to be a little harsh on Mr. Guyton, but his mom is a sweetheart, and therefore no more bad things about Jalen Guyton on this program.
Well, you just want JP. You just want JP season to be activated. That's why.
It doesn't matter. They can both eat with Justin Herbert. What I'm saying is, I hope I never run into Josh Kelly's mom on the internet because although I didn't say this in our reaction video, he was impressive on his runs. Like, I really feel like somebody got in his ear and said, hey, you're 220 pounds and you're the power back. So don't be trying to be Barry Sanders back here because you're not. You got a short shelf life in the NFL. It's about 4 or 5 years. You're going north and south, big guy. Square your shoulders up and run through some people. And he did that when they needed it. He came in and he had some really explosive run. I mean, like, explosive is kind of weird because you're watching Nick Chubb have what I call a real explosive run on the other side. But for Josh Kelly, those were like, holy, whoa, where was this in the preseason, dude? Like, get north and south and go. Don't do this like, should I cut? Is my blocker? Is this a off tackle? Dude, I don't care.
See the hole. Hit the hole, get your 7 yards, go back to the sideline. That's what his goal should be every time he comes into the game and gets his 5 carries per game. If he's going to be like that, give him some more carries. I think Roundtree showed more fight in his carries still. Even when Josh Kelly looked way improved, Roundtree to me still has looked better so far.
I agree. But I'm just saying, okay, when somebody does something and I'm critical, and then they're doing the thing that I asked them to do, you then have to give them praise.
You can't just
you cannot continue to like hate the thing that you were asking for and then they're doing it. Like, I didn't ever expect him to be Derrick Henry or Nick Chubb or one of these sort of more power backs. But if you are a big back, then you at least need to show some attempt at power, which he did. And I liked it. I was encouraged by what I saw from Josh Kelly in that game.
Oh, yeah, and to go back to Herbert, just one last take. We're going to get into this Ravens preview, looking at the injury report, X Factor, score predictions, all of that. But to go back to Herbert, I watch a lot of motivational videos, like on the side, just trying to motivate myself to continue to grind every day and continue to work hard every day. And almost all of them, or I've heard it multiple times, that when people start to look at you crazy because you're working so hard on one thing, they're starting to say that you're being kind of unrealistic. When you say something like, all you do is football, is go from home to the facility, and a guy like Dan Patrick raises his eyebrows and goes, no, I'm not talking about football. I want to know what you do for fun. He's looking at him like, you're crazy to just continue to do this at this level and at this rate like this. And that to me is like just next level. And all those videos that I watch, it's just next level people do that kind of stuff on a regular basis. So excited. And if you, like I always tell people, if you would have went back and told me the second after they draft Herbert what this kid was going to be, I would have spit my drink. I would have lost my mind. I would start crying right there on the spot.
So let me say this really quick. Everybody works hard in the NFL, right? Like I do think like you can't tell me that Tua's not out there grinding in a similar like I really believe that happens. I believe Joe Burrow is out there. It then is like, how good are you at implementing what you learned? He's an A+. How is your talent level amongst your peers? He's an A+. Like, it shouldn't have been anything to pass on. Like, he is got a little bit of mobility, and he's 6'6" and can rip the football. Like, how is he not? I get why that Joe Burrow was number 1, Cincinnati. He's from Ohio. That's his neck of the woods. You want that kind of local kid on your team. But he should have been picked number 2. Somebody should have traded up for him in the draft because you're looking for a guy who's that dedicated, that smart, to be the future of your team.
Oh, if you go back in time, someone's trading the entire everything to move up and get him. Think about how much was traded to get Trey Lance.
That's what I was just going to say. I think we saw the league overreact to how good, and now we're going to see the league take a step back. Like I think I saw a report. I don't follow college football very closely, but Spencer Rattler, did he get benched? Like I heard nothing except Heisman hype and first overall pick hype about this kid. And then I saw a report. They're like, Spencer Rattler is not starting this week. And I was like, that was quick. So I think that we're going to see teams that are like, do we want to mortgage our future for Zach Wilson and Trey Lance and everybody? Like, I think there'll be an overcorrection as to what this year we saw people fighting over Mac Jones.
Oh yeah, it's true. So you're starting to see maybe guys just back off and just take the third quarterback off the board and, the late first round versus trading up and trying to grab someone in the first 3 picks. I can see it. Yeah. And I like that take. All right, let's move on to this injury report. It's a little bit scary, not too scary. Just brace yourself, Tony. Hopefully everyone plays. Got some players on here. Drew Tranquill did not practice. We saw him get hurt in the game against the Browns. Apparently it's a pec injury, and it's not looking good. His status has been labeled as up in the air by the Chargers, but he did not practice in any practices this week so far, and that injury looked pretty painful. It actually held him out for the rest of that game. Mike Williams, guy who's been a breakout guy for us, probably the biggest breakout in the entire NFL this year, possibly, if you really talk about it. But he was not seen participating in the open portion of the team's practice on Thursday afternoon. I think that probably because he was there for practice but did not participate technically in the team practice. So I think that's a precautionary thing. He's dealing with a knee injury. Jackson, who missed the game last week, still dealing with that groin injury. Not sure if he's going to play this week. And then Adderley, he now has a hip injury. And what's concerning about this is he was not on the report Wednesday and was added Thursday and did not practice Thursday. And then the Baltimore Ravens injury report has Deshaun Elliott, who was a limited practice with the quad, one of their safeties. Lamar Jackson had an illness. That's probably precautionary. Ronnie Staley, he did not practice with an ankle injury. That's something to keep an eye on. That's a big player on their O-line. That's their Joey Bosa blocker right there. And Villanueva, the other tackle, did not practice with a knee injury. So either one of those guys missing is a big deal for us. And then Sammy Watkins, wide receiver, thigh, did not practice. I was reading a little bit on that. I think that's a little bit scary for the Ravens right now too. So the Ravens have some injuries as well, but do any of these concern you specifically, Tony? I think Nas Adderley is probably our biggest one. Tranquill, kind of hold your breath on that one. Jackson, we don't really need him to be effective on the ground. We'd love to have him though, but Adderley and Tranquill are the ones I'm really concerned about.
I'm a little more concerned about your pronunciation of Villanueva, right? Like
what did I say?
You said Villanueva. You can't be married to Rosemary and then butcher a Spanish name like that. We'll work on it. As for the actual injury report, I'm more worried the Adderley one because I think we're going to need him, right? Yes, ultimate football fan podcast. Thank you. Bolt up. I'm more worried about being able to stop the run. That's my main concern in this because I've seen Michael Davis. I have seen Derwin James. Whatever's necessary, they're gonna get some looks at Mark Andrews. They're gonna take away that top weapon. We are gonna get to see Rashad Bateman this week, which is exciting if you're a football fan. I hope he plays limited reps because I think Sammy Watkins isn't going to play. So you got Hollywood Brown, you got the speedster. Hopefully, Asante Samuel Jr. kind of gets back into the flow and takes a deep breath after needing that beat to be reined in by the coaching staff last week. I'm more worried about the Tranquil, the Adderley, because we need these guys. Like I've been seeing Rumpf on the field a little bit more, but I don't really think of him as like helping us stop the run. Like I think of him as like a pass rusher, but if he has to come out there and play a little more linebacker in the run game, he's very stretched out. So it's like I could see him getting bowled over, especially if they can get in those two tight end sets or get the fullback out there free in front of Lamar Jackson or tackling big guys. Latavius Murray, he's still got a little juice left and he's a big guy. So that's what worries me is that Tranquil, who I think is a good tackler, and Adderley not being able to come up and fill some of those holes and hopefully wrap up Adderley. What was that tackle on a joke?
That was a bad time. Yeah. Man, that was a rough play because we had just kind of gained momentum back right before that happened. But Adderley, I've said this in his entire career too. Even his rookie year, he showed this, and even through the injuries, a little bit of playing that he had in those first couple of years, he always is in position to make the play. It seems like he's always in position to make it happen. He's always in position to get the interception, and it goes through his hands, or he misses the tackle, and it could have been a 2-yard loss, but instead it turns into a 5-yard gain. And he just needs to get better at executing when he does get there. It seems like everything else is there for him. He could be a really good free safety for us and a really good counterpart to Derwin James because he's more of a coverage guy. Derwin James is more of a guy that can come down and play man coverage / in the box, help out the run game, all the above. He's more of a coverage guy, so you can put him in the middle of the field and not feel like you're getting too much of a drop off if he can get it together. I hope we have him out there. It's a big deal because we saw Henry Ruggs get over the top of the defense a few times, although they handled Tyreek Hill really well. But we saw Henry Ruggs get over the top and Derek Carr just miss him a couple times in that game. That could have been big plays.
That's not the Derek Carr that I know. I would let me say this. Adderley is one of those players that's like, if you could just realize who you're playing with and you just did your job, you would be amazing. Like it would be amazing. Sometimes I think he tries to be on the same level as Derwin James. You said Derwin James is a little bit more like this. Derwin James is whatever you want him to be. He's like gauze and Band-Aids and he's an entire tourniquet for your defense. Like they can play him wherever they want. So Adderley, it's like, I don't want to see him. He doesn't need to lay the wood. You don't need to come up and try and do that. Just make the functional play. Like we have Campbell is a guy that will come up and put a big hit. Derwin will do that. Like Adderley, if he's just there and functional, he's great.
Yeah, Campbell is a guy to point out that's been contributing a lot this year. He's been asked to come in big moments and make plays and cover Tyreek Hill or other guys. So applause to him as well. The entire secondary was a concern for me a little bit just because I didn't think we had a true cornerback one. I believed in Derwin, obviously, but the rest of it, I was just like, man, is ASJ going to be good enough his rookie year as a second rounder to do it? And the secondary is one of our strengths. So kudos to Staley, kudos to the secondary coaches, and kudos to the secondary. They're doing amazing.
Yeah, and there's been a little bit of this like, Lamar Jackson is pulling off come from behind wins, which don't get me wrong. That's what everybody has said bad about Lamar Jackson. This team can't win from behind. They're now winning games from behind. they've also not played any decent secondaries in those come from behind wins. The Chiefs secondary is horrendous. The Colts secondary has not been very good this year. And then the other come from behind win was, help me out here.
The Colts.
It was the Colts. They came from behind on the Colts. Who was it? The Browns, or I forget. But they've had 3 come from behind victories this year: Chiefs, Colts, and somebody else.
Lions.
Yes, in all of them, no secondary, and there's nothing there. I believe that if the Bolts get a lead, it's a different story.
Oh,
he has to throw against this, especially if Chris Harris Jr. is out there and healthy, and Michael Davis just continue to sing this guy's praises, because I think he gets what I'm trying to say about Adderley, which is just do your job. Just they put you in man coverage on somebody. Just lock up your guy. Just take care of your business. Don't try to make the big interception. Obviously, if the opportunity's there, take it. But he looks so great just because he's like, hey, this is my one job. Oh, you want me on Kelsey? You want me on Waller? You want me on the big guy? Let me use my size and my speed to stay with these sort of freak athletes, and I'm just going to worry about this. Adderley seems like I'm all over the place. It's like, no, bro, whatever your assignment is in that play, just execute that. Let somebody else like Derwin James use their intuition.
Yeah, we saw at the end of the game, Derwin James was on Darren Waller, and he rotated in and out on Waller and Kelsey, but that's Derwin James' best friend right there. Derwin James can roam around and be himself if Michael Davis can cover Travis Kelsey, which he was. Kelsey had a good stat game, but if you actually look at when he made those plays, it was a lot of times this passes that the Chiefs had nothing else that they could do, and they just threw it up to Kelsey and hoped that he would catch it, and he did a few times. But when he took it the majority of the game and look at all the coverage that Michael Davis did on Kelsey, holy crap. I mean, I'm very impressed. Michael Davis earning his contract, and his contract is very team-friendly. So glad we got him on. Let's move on to X Factors, Tony. You wanted to highlight the special teams.
Goodness gracious, the special teams. It's every aspect.
Are on the screen right now.
Every aspect of the special teams is what I want. And Baltimore is fine. Last week in that game, what the hell is the Husky short yardage back doing, taking kickoffs back?
I don't understand that.
Like let that stuff go over your head, right? Like, or let's get somebody else back there. And we also we make a couple plays in like the kicking game, the punt game. Can we make some sort of like positive things happen on the special team side of the ball? And also too, this week you're in Baltimore. This guy, you got to make your extra points, because 100%. If he can start making extra points and then he's getting some chip shot field goals here and there, maybe, just maybe, Brandon Staley will say, you know what? Let's not go for it on 4th down again. Let's put some points on the board, because Vizcaína is going to put it through the uprights. I want to see KJ Hill. If you're going to be on the roster, you got to make it. I'm not asking for punt returns, but if this defense is getting you the ball, like, make a couple guys miss. Put us at the 50 to start a couple of short fields. Give Herbert a chance to run the play action on 1st down and go over the top, and just please, special teams, make plays.
Yeah, and it's so important in games like this, and you're playing against good teams, to just score as many points as you can on every single drive and not walk away from drives without points. And not being able to kick the ball limits our chances of putting up points on every single drive. And something to note with our matchup this week against the Ravens, they have not been very good defensively. They still have the guys on defense that have been playing well. When you look at it, the totality of it, Carson Wentz cooked them up. The Lions had them on the ropes. The Chiefs put up 35 points on them, a team that we just held to 24. So, I mean, the Raiders put up a ton of points on them. And
that was the other trash defense they came back
fireworks. Like fireworks in the 4th quarter and overtime. Like, they just fell apart in the secondary. So like it's there, and we could score points on every single drive. And I just, early on in the game, I want to be able to, once we pass midfield, say in my mind, like, okay, we're getting points in this drive. We're at least getting 3. Build that lead, because like you said, they start off slow, they wait until you get tired, and then they unleash the speed. And that speed is deadly when you're tired and trying to chase them around in the 4th quarter, and that's when the comebacks have started to happen. But if we can build a big enough lead, I feel comfortable with giving up 2 big plays in the 4th quarter to limit it to a 31 to 25 game versus a 31 to 17 game. I'm okay with that. We've got to build that lead, and we got to hit those field goals. It's getting to a point where I'm ready to offer up draft picks for good kickers around the league on bad teams. I am. I'm that close, because if we want to compete in the playoffs and we want to go on a 3-game winning streak against the Bills, Chiefs, and Ravens in the playoffs, or Bills, Chiefs, and Browns in the playoffs, we need a kicker that can make a field goal. We're going to need him.
This is not a joke at all, I would trade a first-round pick for Justin Tucker.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I absolutely would, for Harrison Butker. I would go around to a few of these kickers in the league and say, I think those are the only two I'd use a first one on. But you don't get the how vital it is to have one of these kickers on your team. The Adam Vinatieri's, what Gostowski was for a long time.
Speaking of which, Adam Vinatieri didn't want to retire. He's kind of forced retired.
But he doesn't really have it unless inside 48. He's more like Rodrigo Blankenship is
inside
now
48?
missing kicks.
Inside 48?
Missing kicks.
Come on in if you can hit him inside 48.
Yeah, but he was having some trouble too. Vinatieri had a nice career, and trust me, I would take him right now. I'm not trying to give anything up for him. But if they brought him into camp and they were like, hey, you got anything left? Freaking Jay Feely wants to put the microphone down. I just want somebody out there, because Brandon Staley, and I rewatched the video where he talks about and he praises Vizcaino, but he talks about his kickoff leg. I don't want to hear that bullshit anymore. I don't care about his kickoff leg, especially because he's not kicking a lot of touchbacks. Maybe They're asking him not to. But if that's the plan, why is our coverage team letting them get the ball to the 30, 35-yard line if the plan is not to have touchbacks? So
it's time to just go and study some Chargers history. It's already in week 6. We can sit here and say, no offense, Vizcaino, but Vizcaino's not the guy. Let's try and find someone else. We just need to keep doing this until we find the guy. We've been doing this for 5. I've seen 5 kickers in the last 5 years be brought in. There's Rose, there was Younghoe Koo, there was Josh Lambo, Michael Badgley, Vizcaino. Once they aren't playing well, the Chargers need to move on and try someone new until they find the guy that goes on this 20 of 20 hot streak and field goals.
Well, here's the thing, is that he might keep him around long enough to do a little tomfoolery on us. You know what I'm saying? Where he might just stay around long enough and bang through a couple 51-yard field goals in big situations. And all of a sudden it's oh, now the Chargers have a kicker. They're unstoppable. But we still haven't seen it in the biggest moments. And that's why I would trade a first-round pick for Tucker or Butker, because I've seen them make these big-time pressure kicks. So
Tucker, Butker, send him to us.
Just 4th and Herbert. That's all we need to worry about.
Speaking of 4th and Herbert, here is my X factors for this game. It's only one man and one man only, and he wears number 10 on his back and on his front. And that's the reason I'm making Justin Herbert, because this is the kind of game where no matter what the Ravens do, this guy's so good at this point, he can just win the game. And that's what I want to see. If we get to a point where our run game is struggling, if we get to a point where we're down or even up, I say we double down and unleash the beast and go ahead and let Herbert do what he did last week to the Browns, to the Ravens this week, and just go full-blown offense shootout if we have to do it again. Justin Herbert is approaching that level where there is nothing the defense can do. And there's only a few quarterbacks in the league that are like that. And even we're seeing defenses shut down Mahomes and stop Mahomes from making these crazy plays. But guys like Aaron Rodgers, there is no defensive game plan going into Aaron Rodgers. Get pressure on him. That's the defensive game plan for every quarterback in the league. That's your best shot. Yeah, but you still don't really have a shot of stopping Aaron Rodgers, and that's where Justin Herbert is approaching. He is the X factor of this game and every game from now until the end of the season, but specifically in these big games against teams like the Baltimore Ravens. Herbert, let him take over. Number 10. Here we go.
Well, we talked about this at the beginning of the year, right? And if you want to be a playoff team, these are the games you got to go and win, right? We talked about it with Washington and KC and now this one. So heading into the bye week, nothing would bring me more joy than for him to go out, have another game, multiple touchdown passes, no turnovers, and in the biggest moments, number 10 just steps up and throws a dime to whoever it is, whoever it need be, whether it's Jared Cook or Parham or Jalen Guyton, the lovely Jalen Guyton. Throw him the football. I don't care. But I want to see that process continue, where it's like, oh, backs against the wall, could lose this game, on the road, hostile crowd, and he just continues to just stick it wherever he needs to. Victories, stacking them up.
Yeah, like that big, I think it was 3rd and 5. It might have been or late third quarter or early fourth quarter. When we started to march back in that Browns game, Justin Herbert steps back and he faces pressure almost immediately, avoids one pressure, avoids another, just kind of cuts underneath and rolls right. And Keenan Allen's streaking up the sideline. But there's like a window of about 5 yards in between the sideline and the DB, and Keenan Allen's in the middle of those two. And it is a tight-ass window to get the ball into, let alone get the ball into on the run while being chased down by Myles Garrett. And he just dropped that thing in there as if he walked up and handed it off to Keenan on the sideline.
With a little bit of zip to it.
It was
beautiful.
Awesome. It was awesome. Then they pointed at each other, and it was a nice little moment right there. But that's pretty awesome. Stuff like that, it just gives me chills. And I love Philip Rivers, but it's just like I've never seen anything like that on my team.
No, it's it really is a beautiful thing to have the best player on the field all the time.
Yes, it is.
You always have the best player on the field.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And that leads us into the final part. That's a score prediction. I'll go first. I said, what did I say? 31-25 or something like that. It's a weird score, but I'll stick with it. I'm not scared to stick with my original, just like throw it out there. Shot 31-25 Chargers is going to be my score prediction. Who's going to have a big game? Let's go with Josh Palmer's first career touchdown. I'll call it this week. I'm pretty hot on the streaks. So give me Josh Palmer's first career touchdown. I think the Ravens defense is really going to focus in on Mike Williams. I think they really are.
Yeah, no, I think that is definitely what they will do, and also a very smart thing for them to do at this point. I am going with Chargers road victory, headed into the bye 5-1. They get it done, 26-23. My big game is going to Keenan Allen, because Keenan has been saying all the right things, right? You know, like talking about Mike Williams. What do you think of Mike's play? What do you think of Justin's play? I think Keenan is like, hey, all right, let me go to work here. Because if they put Humphreys over on Mike Williams, he's going to be able to beat who's ever in front of him consistently in this game. He thrives on the hostile crowd. I'm going with 10 catches, 117 yards, and a touchdown for Keenan Allen in this huge game for him. And I also like some random touchdowns coming this weekend too, right? Maybe like a Gabe Neighbors touchdown or like an Anderson touchdown, which also Palmer could fit in that category, but it would be kind of fun. Look at this. Jason Thomas, welcome back, my friend.
Yeah,
been a little quiet. Haven't seen you in a while.
Saying that we're really giddy. He was here last night talking smack.
Good.
For the primetime stream. But yeah, man, I like it. And Keenan cooked them up last time we played them in the playoffs and actually beat them in the playoffs. Fun fact to everyone watching at home. It's a couple years ago. I remember exactly where I was too. I was doing like some weird like meeting, and we were supposed to be paying attention, but like they had the game on a TV in the background of the instructor. I was like, what the? I'm not paying attention to you. It's a playoff game going on back there with the time difference and everything. It's the middle of the day over there.
And when they scored, were you just like, oh, I just love the Navy so much. Yes.
It was such a back and forth game too, I remember. But we took care of Lamar. That was Lamar's rookie year when he came in for relief for Flacco. First round. Then we got destroyed by the Patriots the next week. I remember. It was painful. Anyways, that's going to do it for us. Appreciate you guys. If you like, subscribe, turn on notifications if you're new to the channel. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We really appreciate you guys. Any last comments, Tony? Any last words before I hit this music?
Business trip. 5-1.
Business trip. Walk in, walk out, and let's head to this bye week atop the
Trip
entire AFC.
San Diego Chargers are fortunate to have Lance Allworth.
Don Coryell.